What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Hillside, and today gotta talk about the bad word, frost. Now, you might think I'm crazy talking about frost when it's 85 degrees out and sunny here in the middle of late August, but 60 days from now is our average first frost date. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple tips what you can do 60 days away from the first frost, what you need to do to kind of start planning and get ready for that really bad word to happen. So here we go. Let's talk about it. Alright, so number one, first thing you can do is start cutting your losses. Alright, as you see in these pots right here, there's 1, 2, and 3. Up to about 2 days ago, there were pepper plants in this. And these plants, they yielded tons of peppers. I went ahead and pulled them all off. The plants are kind of getting tired. Been producing lots of pods all season. So, you just got to cut your losses and say, is it more important that I try to keep these plants alive for 60 more days? Watering, feeding, fully mature pepper plants, all for the, decreasing yield you're going to get as the season comes to a close? Or is it more important to plant things like, here's some cilantro, which is going to do fine this type of year going into the cooler fall weather. Some kale here. This is from Home Saved Seeds. I've had this going for several years now. The kale can actually withstand some frost, so it's not only going to do well now, it's going to mature and it's going to survive into the fall and even early winter in some places, depending on your climate and how cold it gets and how soon it will get cold. This is just another tray of these some kale starts, and these are the ones I transplanted into this pot. And over here is some heirloom speckled romaine lettuce, E. coli free because I grow it at home, for a note. But anyways, and we have some herbs here that I've kind of transitioned to these pots that are just kind of perched up here inside the pot right now because I had nowhere else to put them. And over here you can just start seeing some carrots popping up through the soil. So yeah, these pepper plants, they're old, they're getting mature, and the amount of produce, like the most, produce, food, herbs, whatever you can think of, growing in these pots now is going to far outweigh what you could have grown by allowing the pepper plants to grow to full maturity. And to me, I think you just get more bang for your buck this way. So yeah, number one, you're going to count your losses, you're going to start moving on, and you're going to start getting those fall crops into the ground. Alright, tip number two, 60 days out from your first frost date, what else can you be doing? Start looking for seeds you're going to start saving. Alright, what do I mean by that? If you look right here, these dahlias, beautiful dahlia. I grew this from seed. As you can tell, this pod here is kind of starting to fade out a little bit. So at this time, it's always important to deadhead, as in, cutting off the old expended blooms to, prolong the blooming cycle for your plants. But if you're trying to save seeds, or even this purple coneflower, echinacea, put a string around it, a ribbon, or just, make a note of it, and just kind of tag it out, say, I'm going to let this one here go all the way to seed. I'm going to save these seeds, while you can go ahead and continuously deadhead all the other ones. So start getting an idea of what seeds you may want to save. If there are some pods of some peppers on the plant, you're letting it go maturity, whether it be a certain tomato or some beans or whatever it may or may not be, that you're trying to get those seeds to save for next year, earmark those now and let those kind of fully mature on the plant before you harvest them, before the frost. Make sure you give plenty of time. If you wait until 2 weeks before the frost and just hope that the plant and the seeds mature, you may be disappointed whenever the frost hits and you don't have viable seeds for next year. Alright, so tip number three, another thing you can do 60 days out is right behind me. Compost. So this is I had about half a truckload of compost I picked up at the city municipal compost area, and this is kind of what's left of it. But I've been topping off my beds. I've been adding compost, everything basically, just top dressing it, getting ready for the winter time to kind of let that the heat and the rain and the snow and wind and everything else going to soak it on down to get those plants ready for a nice healthy fall. It's going to help them get strong. It's going to provide nutrients into the soil, so your plants are just going to thrive and do that much better, while they still have an opportunity to kind of charge up and store the energy going into the fall for your perennial type plants. And if you have an annuals, flower beds, or just annual garden bed, start pulling some of those old expended ones out, and you can start adding this nice compost right there. Start getting that in the beds now and worked it in now in the fall. before the soil gets too cold and before it really just is not as beneficial as if you do it about now, in my experience. Number 4. All right, so you see this tomato plant behind me right here? Now's about the time, like I mentioned with the peppers earlier. This plant's not going to grow forever. You got 60 days to go. It has some green tomatoes on it down here, which they're doing fine, and more back here. But the longer you let these guys up, keep growing at the top and putting on new flower buds like this on this tomato, these guys up here may not have nearly enough time to ripen on the plant when you only have 60 days to go. So now is a great time to start thinking about pinching out the tops or the growing tips of your plants. And you see right here, this is kind of the side branch, and this is the main leader right here with a little feather, but you see the last little cluster of tomatoes there. So go ahead and pinch those tops out just like this, and that's going to stop the plant from growing up, and whatever's on the plant is going to start developing. Put all the energy into developing the fruit that's already set, and that's going to divert all the energy into those fruit and that fruit production. When you only have 60 days to go, you got to start thinking, maybe this time of year where you're living, where you're watching this video, maybe you have 40 days to your first frost and you have even less time. So keep that in mind. Start cutting stuff back and give it all the more opportunity to ripen prior to your first frost. All right, for my 5th and final tip for 60 days out, what you should be doing in the garden, that is harvest like you mean it. So go through your garden. It's time to start harvesting. If you're picking beans, pick them on a daily basis. Pick your tomatoes, right? Pick them often. Pick your peppers. Check everything that's going on, because the more you're going to pick, it's going to, like I said in the last tip, it's going to divert more energy to the plants that are still developing, the pods, the beans, the fruits, whatever it may be, what have you. It's going to start putting more energy into the babies while you're taking off the fresh pods, like this one right here. Harvest this pepper right now, which is perfectly ripe, nice red coloration all around, perfectly ripe pepper. The green pods that are on this plant in front of me are going to have that much more energy and more water and nutrients, etc., etc. Are going to divert to the existing fruit on the plant, help you survive, get those, help the plant survive, which will help you survive, I suppose. But it's helped the plant survive. Put more energy into those existing fruits. It's going to ripen faster, and you're going to have a much better fall harvest. So there you go. That's my top 5 tips for what you should do 60 days out from your first frost date, even though it's still 85 degrees. The sun's in my eyes, as you probably can tell. It's hot outside, I'm sweating. So a lot of people may not think about, the fall gardening season or the impending frost is coming up when it's nice and sunny like this. You're gonna wait till it starts getting the first really cool nights in September or maybe October, wherever you live at. Then you're gonna start wondering, oh wow, it's almost fall. What should I do? What should I be doing? You should start now to get ready for a much better fall gardening and end of the season preparation. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Dave, your Hillside gardener, signing off from the garden. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, give us some thumbs up, give me some comments down below what you do 60 days out. Let everybody kind of share in that knowledge. Let's spread it around. Let's take care of one another, and I'll see you next time here on the Hillside, guys. Bye-bye.